are always talking about winter and they're worried about winter, but like fall is molting season. Fall is parasite season. There are so many things that you can do during the fall that will help you get through the winter. So I want to talk about how we can be prepared so we don't get any surprises. Hello, friends. Welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life, and I want to help you find that too. Have you made friends? Charlie has made friends. She's my silky chicken that didn't have any chicken friends when she came to live here, and now she's doing great. I'll put you down with your friends, okay? So the Christmas things are already up at Costco, so I guess it's time to talk about the fall. But I do know for a lot of you, you're probably ready for the summer to be over, especially in terms of taking care of your chickens, because it can be a scary time in the summer for chicken keepers when it gets like really hot. And we've had a tough summer this year. So let's talk about some important things that I think will be good for you to know as we go into the fall. A lot of us are in areas where we really need rain. And so hopefully going into the fall, we'll get into a more rainy season, but with rain comes mud in the chicken yard. If you had a problem with mud last year or you're worried that you might have a problem with mud this year, I want you to think now about some permanent solutions to help fix that. You know, some of these things are regrading your chicken yard. I know that's a big job, but you will not regret that. You can build trenches that will lead the water away from your coop and run area. Or you may want to think about adding some substrate, maybe like a sand and gravel mix, or at the very least some wood chips to help with the drainage. I just really think it's important to think about this right now because mud can cause a lot of issues for chickens. It can cause disease, it can cause parasites. It really is a situation and a condition that you don't want your chickens to be in for the health of your flock and for your own sanity, which we're always concerned about our sanity in Chickenlandia. If you can't do any of these things or you don't have that serious of an issue with mud, then there is a mud hack that I talk about in some of my videos. It's super easy. You could go out and buy some pine pellets right now and be prepared. I'll leave that video link for you, but don't click on it yet because I have some more things I need to tell you about. Every time I go into a new season, I try to evaluate my practices. I look at my flock's nutrition. I look at how much room they have. I think about their stress level. I just want to make sure that all the things that I'm doing are really up to par going into the next season. A big one that I really want you to take a look at is, did you go a little bit too crazy with the chicken math over the spring and summer? And now you're going into the fall with an overcrowded, chicken area. That's not a good scenario. If that is the case, you really want to think about, okay, do I need to rehome some chickens? And I know that's really hard. It's really hard for me. Ow! Sorry. Don't sting me. Well, he didn't really sting me. He just gave me a warning. He just gave me a little pinch. If you have too many chickens and you know in your heart you need to rehome some, do it now before they start molting, okay? They may have already started molting, but do it right now while your chickens are in decent condition. They don't look like trash, I mean, can you imagine if I tried to rehome Libby and Connie right now? They look terrible, especially if they're frizzles. So you will feel so much better going into the fall and especially the winter if you are not overcrowded. An overcrowded situation is not good for any of your chickens. So if you have some chickens that would do better off in another flock, take care of that now, okay? All right, speaking of molting, which is, if you don't know, molting is the process that all chickens go through of dropping their old feathers or old scraggly feathers and growing new strong feathers in preparation for the winter. Molting can happen any time of year, and it can actually happen after an illness or after a time of stress, but for the most part, for adult chickens, it will happen at the end of summer, late summer and early fall. So right now what I want you to do is come up with a molting plan, which sounds complicated, but it is not at all. what I want you to do is make sure you have a sick bay for your chickens, and all that is like an area. If you have a chicken that is really struggling hard with a molt, you want to take them out of the flock for a day or two, put them in an area where they can just chill out, give them some TLC, do the rest method on them, which is, if you don't know what that is, I'll also leave that link in the description, and give them some really good nutrition, some vitamins, some good nutrient-rich treats, and get their strength up again. Because for some chickens, they will go through a really hard molt, especially good layers. So if you have a chicken struggling with their molt, you'll already have an area that is set up for them that you can put them in so that they can get through it and then get back out with their flock. The other thing I want you to do is, if you can, go and get some vitamins for chickens. And when you notice that your flock is going through their molt, you can give them a course of those vitamins. And I usually just do like a couple of weeks, because really they're a little bit depleted. Like, all of their energies are going towards growing new feathers. So you want to replenish some of that. I know that there's a really strong push to give lots of extra protein during a molt, and you can give them a little bit more protein, but don't go crazy with it. And too much protein can cause problems with chickens, okay? So just give them a little bit of scrambled eggs, give them a little bit of some grubs or some mealworms or some other scraps, like high protein scraps, but don't go crazy giving them 10 cans of cat food a day because ultimately that can cause other issues that you don't want to deal with. And of course, make sure that they have grit. If they can't get access to small pebbles and stuff in their natural environment, make sure that they have a calcium supplement. You want to stay on top of those things during their molt. Molting season is also, unfortunately, parasite season. If you have your chickens in an enclosed run, or if you've had parasite issues in the past, the summer is really the time when you want to think about whether or not you want to do some parasite prevention, like put your chickens on a parasite prevention program to just kind of get ahead of that. Especially when chickens are on the same spot for year after year, then their risk of parasite infestation goes up, okay? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's what I have in my yard. That's my chicken yard. They're in the same area for their whole lives. Now, what I do is herbal prevention, and that is not the same as giving your chickens a synthetic dewormer, every few months. I am not a proponent of that. If you've consulted with a veterinarian, you feel like you need to do that, then that is fine for your flock. For me, I really like to keep things as natural as possible. So what I use as an internal parasite prevention program is an herbal product that comes from a company called Mary's Herbals. I'm not sponsored. I just think she has a great product, and she's also really responsive if you need to contact her. So I will leave that link in the description for you so you can check it out. And it's just it's a very easy herbs that you can mix in with your chicken's feed. There is not a flock, a healthy flock is going to have some level of parasitic presence. So the reason I like using herbals is because it's not like this eradication, but it is to help to keep that parasite load down and create a situation, support your chickens' bodies so that they're not going to host this infestation of parasites. So, it's the infestation that you really want to prevent. But honestly, what's more important even than doing some kind of preventative herbal thing for parasites is just to support your chickens nutritionally and, with their immunity as much as you can. And so there's some very simple things that you can do, apple cider vinegar, oregano, thyme, and garlic. I call them the foul-tastic four. I'm probably going to get a cease and desist. So for garlic, I will just take, one clove, cut it in half, and add it to a gallon of their water. Make sure that they're drinking it. I wouldn't do that when it's really hot, okay? Because when it's hot, you just want your chickens to drink water. Or you can mince it up and just add it to some scrambled eggs. That's a good thing. You could sprinkle on some oregano and some thyme and give them that treat when they're molting. That's a great treat, a great nutritious treat to give them when they're molting. And apple cider vinegar is 1 teaspoon per quart of water, or 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. And that is another thing that is going to support them, create a good environment in their crop, and just help them with their overall health and immunity. You don't have to do any of these things. These are all extra things. Chickens need very little in order to have a good life. But these are things that I think will lower your chances of dealing with internal parasites and also raise your chicken's immunity. So just overall, I think it's better for them in terms of like avoiding disease, avoiding parasites. So that's why I recommend these things, not because it's like mandatory, okay? But it can also help for your chickens to avoid external parasites. I've had so many situations where I had one chicken that was not doing well that had external parasites and no one else in my flock had them. Okay, so when your chicken's defenses are down, when they're not feeling well, that's when they're at risk for infestation. In the fall, those chances of this happening go up. So the summer is the time to think about a plan for these things. One of the best things that you can do to avoid external parasites is to make sure that your chickens have a place to dust bathe through the whole year, including the fall. So a lot of times what happens is in the summer, your chickens can dust bathe wherever because they have all these areas in their natural environment. The fall comes, it becomes a rainy season, and those areas in their natural environment can lessen greatly or disappear completely. So we don't want that. And now is the time to think about making some areas where your chickens can dust bathe and that area is not going to get wet from the rain or whatever. So guess what? I have a whole video about that, okay? It's going to help your flock to avoid external parasites, and then you won't have to deal with it all the time. And of course, it's 100% friendly backyard chickens education and entertainment, and I know you're going to love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going inside. It's too hot. I'm sweating. Sugar melts.